Hey guys, I wanted to do an update on the comic swatter situation. If you hadn't heard about it yet, I don't know how you couldn't have, but Peter Simeti of Alterna Comics had the police called on him. Of course, this was a false accusation. It's what they call swatting, where police come in expecting some kind of hostage situation or violent criminal. So he got guns pointed at him. Luckily, he's safe, but I did want to give you an update there. Before we get into the details here, I just wanted to remind you that I'm writing this comic book, Downcast, and if you're interested, now I've got a date of April 2nd, 2019. That's when we're going to launch this on Indiegogo. So if you're interested in being first to know, because this is important, go in the description below and you can join my mailing list. Okay, so a couple things I wanted to point out. First off, I did my live stream the other night, virtually just as Peter was finished with his live stream, and so I had just heard about the swatting as I was jumping into the live stream. So we talked about it a little bit. Of course, we did some speculating, and I was a little upset. I did bring up some figures that I know in comics that don't like Alterna Comics. They don't like Peter Simeti. Now, of course, I think it would be really foolish to throw out any accusations. I'm going to go over some of these people's responses. By no means am I throwing out any accusations. This is for law enforcement to decide. However, because the responses to this swatting were so ridiculous, they are worth talking about. Now, some of the problem here is that the comics swatter, who knows who he is, or she, right? Could be anybody, could be a crazy person, could have nothing whatsoever to do with Comicsgate or anti-Comicsgate or whatever. That's totally a possibility. However, generally when something happens to somebody in your industry that you know of, that you possibly talk to online about, or talk about online often, and you want to make a statement about that awful situation, I think Donnie Cates did it well here. Now, Donnie Cates hasn't, as far as I know, done anything directed at Alterna Comics or Peter Simeti. He did come out against Comicsgate a couple months ago, and that's obnoxious, but whatever. I'm happy to let live and let live. The problem is not everybody is happy to go that route. So Donnie Cates put out this statement on Twitter. This should be obvious, but I absolutely agree. It should be obvious. Disagreements about comics are not worth threatening someone's life. Whoever did this is disgusting, and I hope they are found out. This is not okay. Period. He didn't put a but in here. He didn't give you any other explanation, because there's no other explanation needed. This is ridiculous. Now, if you are a comic book pro and you're deciding not to say anything about it, that's just fine. I personally like to see, especially people that have really, really been indulging in, the rhetoric and especially some of the violent words. I would love those people to speak out against it and to let people know that there's a difference between violence and criticism. Unfortunately, in their words, they're using a lot of violent words. Again, Donnie Cates is not one of these people. So this was nice, and I have my disagreements with Donnie Cates. I think he's wrong about Comicsgate, and that's okay, right? Again, live and let live. Mags Visaggio had a different perspective on it, and this is what I'm talking about. So here we go. Peter Simeti getting swatted. I have precisely zero interest in getting sucked back into Comicsgate, but whoever did this is a genuine piece of garbage. Disagreements don't justify causing an incident that can easily turn lethal. Comic books is supposed to be a fun hobby, guys. Period. This is fine. This is where it would be left, right? You'd think. The problem is that there have already been so many statements made. Ethan did a really great video, Ethan Van Sciver from Comic Artist Pro Secrets, on the whole swatting situation. The problem is that a lot of these statements that some comic book pros and some just Twitter figures have made about Peter and Alterna, they don't age well. Now that this incident has happened, things look really bad. Now, it's not the fault of people around you if you have said something so outlandish that when something potentially life-threatening happens, now those words look bad on you. That's nobody's fault but your fault. So Mags continues, I don't know about you, but I don't think someone's opinion about people who don't like Captain Marvel justifies sending armed police to their home. This is flatly unacceptable and must be condemned outright. Now, the don't like Captain Marvel thing, I don't believe Peter Simeti has ever talked about Captain Marvel, especially not publicly. This has nothing to do with Peter Simeti. Again, they're lumping Peter into Comicsgate. He's never been a part of Comicsgate. He just wants to sell books. But that's not good enough. These people are never happy with somebody wanting to remain neutral, which is, kind of the case with Donnie Cates. So Mags continues, that's ignoring the serious, creepy stalking factor involved in getting someone's home address. As someone who has been stalked as a result of Comicsgate, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Okay, here's the problem. This is where it goes bad. Making somebody else's tragedy your own, turning it into your own, is bad form. Now, I don't know exactly what incidents Mags is talking about. If someone was actually stalking Mags, that's weird and not cool. But Peter Simeti had police come into his home forcefully and point guns at him. This is absolutely a life-threatening situation. In fact, a man has died in the past from a swatting scenario. So guys, calm down, right? And a lot of this, I think, I'm going to speculate here. Okay, this is just speculation. I do feel like there's some guilt because past words, again, they don't age well. And so there's this need to explain everything. Mags continues, all this does is bring disproportionate harm to someone ultimately doing the one thing that unites us, producing comics. Whatever your opinion of Simeti or Alterna, this is unjustifiable. Totally agree with that. That is, spot on. Mags continues, with that, I'm going back to ignoring Comicsgate related news so I can focus on doing the one thing I love more than anything, enjoying comics with my friends. I suggest all the rest of you do the same. Now, this gets irritating that it's Comicsgate related. Again, Peter Simeti is not Comicsgate related. He's never, he just supports his fans. And yeah, there's some principles of Comicsgate that he agrees with, which honestly all publishers should agree with. It's crazy. So this is part of the problem, is saying that Peter Simeti is Comicsgate, and because, I don't know, it feels like to me that he's kind of out there on his own. He's going it alone because he's trying to do his own thing, but that makes him, for some reason, I guess in SJW's eyes, an easy target to go after. Thankfully, Peter is not taking this sitting down. Here's another one, Matt Miner. It's no secret that I have my issues with Comicsgate and with Alterna's embracing of Comicsgate. Again, this rhetoric, it's just not true. This is verifiably not true. Frankly, I wish Alterna and Peter Simeti would embrace Comicsgate. I think that would be a great thing. That would be awesome. Could be wonderful. But it's his decision. He's built a company that's been around, way before Comicsgate was. And so, yeah, he's going to keep doing his own thing. It makes total rational sense from his point of view as a business owner. Matt Miner continues, but let me be very clear that I and nobody I know condones this kind of crap. I condemn this kind of action in the strongest terms. Whoever did this is no hero and has no place in comics. Now, when you're condemning something in the strongest terms possible, why do you have to add this qualifier at the beginning that you don't like Alterna Comics, and then you add this lie linking Alterna Comics to Comicsgate? Like, who cares? None of this is relevant. It is not relevant. The second half of your statement is, the problem is that statements that you've made in the past don't age well. Now, Marc Lombardi has been, I think, one of the most vocal detractors of Peter Simeti and Alterna Comics. I've heard him on a podcast. I should do a video on that one time. A podcast he did a couple weeks ago where he basically was talking about how he's fighting the good fight and he thinks he's doing something great for social change or whatever. The problem is he leaves out the fact that he blocks everyone. I'm blocked from Marc Lombardi. I don't even know, what does the guy actually do? I know he has done some lettering, I guess. All I know is he blocks people on Twitter he doesn't even know. So he's got me blocked. He's got just about everyone blocked, and he's mentioned that with great pride. He's very proud of that. But he hasn't blocked Peter Simeti, and that's because he likes to write nasty things to Peter Simeti. You can see it all of the time. So in reaction to Ethan Van Sciver's video that is showing some of these old tweets that just don't age well, he's going to be very upset about it. Now, in that video, those are actual tweets. None of them were falsified. These are your own words, and they don't age well. Marc says, this hateful video by Ethan Van Sciver falsely insinuates and accuses that people like me, Ren, and others are responsible for the accused swatting of Peter Simeti. No, again here, if you're feeling guilty because things that you have said don't age well when some kind of act of extreme violence like this happens, that's nobody else's fault but your fault. I'm not saying that you committed the swatting. I don't think anybody's saying that you committed the swatting. We are saying that things you have said are pretty nasty and they don't age well when something like this happens. He continues, this is a baseless, harmful video that weaponizes and takes advantage of Simeti's recent plight. Ethan is lying scum. What did he lie about? Look at, they're your own words. You've said all sorts of horrible things. So if you didn't mean them, you think it's a lie. I mean, look at the video. Maybe I'll link the video in the description below so you can see it yourself. And of course, they want to, this is him retweeting Remfamous, and she wants to report it for hateful or abusive content. Well, they're your words. Remfamous also had some pretty nasty words in there. So we'll look at this other one from Marc Lombardi. He says, last night, this was what Peter Simeti wrote. So, of course, Ethan Van Sciver, Donald DeLay, and that Umbrella guy, and the others of Comicsgate are blatantly ignoring his request and dangerously accusing people of being responsible without proof. Now, Peter Simeti said he wanted to get down to it. He didn't want any, accusations going out. For some reason, all of Peter's detractors are now on Peter's side, and they're using him as a shield, his words as a shield, to shield them from things that they have said in the past. If you say it so many times, I'm happy to give you free speech. That's great. You have free speech. But you can't then pretend that you didn't say the words that you did once something happens and they don't age well. This is nobody's fault but your own. Now, I've talked to Peter just a little bit, on a private one-on-one basis. I can tell you that he seems to be doing fine. I'm really pleased that he's doing fine. He's a really nice guy. I think the best thing that we can do is keep an eye out for suspicious activity, or take care of yourself. If you do live streaming, if you're more vocal out in the comics community, we got to stay safe. Secondly, I think the best thing that we can do to support Peter Simeti is check out his comic books, because he has a lot of great comic books and they're priced affordably, which I really think is part of the reason why a lot of these comic pros are so upset with Peter on a regular basis. So this story is going to be developing. I really, really hope that whoever is out there that did this gets caught. I hope that they don't ever do it again. And I also hope that some of this nasty rhetoric surrounding Alterna Comics, or really any other comic creator, I hope they calm down. When you talk about punching Nazis and you're waiting for action and all sorts of things like that, it's disgusting. Then something happens and you're suddenly the victim. You're not the victim here. Choose your words carefully, because on the internet they last forever. Thank you very much. I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.